Hello and welcome back to another i30n video, and again Christian. Hello and welcome back to another i30n video, and as part of our Rivals series we have got the Ford Focus ST and the Hyundai i30n Performance.
Now, as part of this series we look at 5 very important facts. We look at design, we look at practicality, performance, fun factor and cost. So with that in mind, let's get straight to it. First of all, design. And thanks to the guys at BOTB, where they have a dream car winner every single week, you could win the 2 cars in this video. Not only do they have the Focus ST, they also have the i30n, where you can play for the fastback or the performance. And when you buy your tickets, you also have the chance to win £20,000 in cash along with your prize. Get entering and you never know, you might just be next week's winner.
Right, design. Okay.
Sell it to me.
I've got to sell you on this. Right, we have nice big honeycomb grille, the new Ford shape kind of thing, a bit like an Aston Martin used to be. ST badge. I'm quite liking these kind of silvery grey bits here. They stand out a lot more on a non-black car, of course. You go around, you've got more honeycomb at the bottom, nice headlights with these DRL bits that do all this. It's not, I'm trying to sell it to you and I can't even sell it to myself. It's not very good. To me, it doesn't look different enough at the front from an ST line Focus.
I would agree.
With a diesel engine and not that exciting. So I think we need to try harder there. I do like the wheels.
Wheels are great. I have to agree with you. They are lovely, lovely wheels, and in a matte finish.
There's a spoiler. We have a spoiler and it isn't spoiling things. It's, yes, I like that. It's quite nice and sporty. Twin pipes at the back, /cut, kind of they're nice. They look like an aftermarket exhaust to me.
Yeah, they do actually.
They haven't got the trim bit around them.
They're slightly bigger. It's got that older RS look to it, which is quite cool. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you say it doesn't look that much different to like an ST line Focus.
No. So, the interior of the Ford. I'm a big fan actually. I think it's nice. It's a really clean layout. You've got this nice screen sticking up here, as ever with these things. You've got actual dials. Not these. I'm not a huge fan of these full LCD screens like my Leon's got, to be honest. I like having an actual dial that goes around like that. Very nice steering wheel. I think it's nice perforated leather, squidgy, thick rim to it. But for me, the big thing about the interior in this, apart from the gear lever, which is also quite nice, are the seats. Now these are awesome. Proper Recaro bucket seats with a little ST, what's it called, embroidery on there. They really hold you in tight. They're just like the Fiesta ST seats, in fact, but a bit bigger. Like, you feel these things hug you properly when you're getting in them. It's really nice.
Okay, well, you might have sold me on the seats for the interior, but first of all, let's go and have a look at the design on the i30n Performance. So, design of the i30n, and actually just before we get onto that, massive thanks to Pebley Beach who have lent us this car for 24 hours. One of the nicest dealerships I have ever dealt with in my life. They deal with Hyundai and Suzuki, and you can check them out in the link in the description below. So the i30n, unlike the Ford, looks a lot different than its less aggressive brothers. So you've got this incredibly cool grille on the front, and I love the red accent on the bottom. For me, that is quite sporty. I know you like the word sporty.
Sporty.
You have the N badge here, which we were debating what it stands for. I think a few people have said it stands for Nürburgring because it helped develop this car, the Nürburgring, and you said it stands for
naughty. Naughty.
Does it actually stand for naughty?
I read it somewhere that someone said it's naughty.
If it does, that is fantastic. Coming around to the side, Tim, let me show you the wheels. Now, I'm not 100% sold. I think the Ford might be slightly better, but it does go with the car, and especially this colour.
You see, bizarrely, even though I like the ones on the Ford, I really like these wheels.
Oh, okay.
I think they look even bigger than they are, and at 19s, they are big.
They are big. There is another little N badge notched in here, which I thought was
oh, nice.
A rather nice little addition. Naughty, very naughty. And then round to the back. Now, the back of this is really cool. It's got what I would call a slight Mercedes A35 A45 splitter bit on the bottom.
Yeah.
See what I mean about that?
Yeah.
It's a little bit reminiscent of that.
It is.
And then you've got the 2 exhaust pipes a little bit like the Ford either side. Not quite as, I suppose, aftermarket looking, but still looks absolutely fantastic. i30n badge there, and I think the whole package with this awesome spoiler and this, check out this.
Oh, it's like a Formula 1 car.
It's like a Formula 1 car. Yeah, a little triangle on the back, and aero.
Yeah, that I am loving that sort of split level spoiler.
So Tim, welcome to the inside of the i30n Performance. Now, you'll actually see that they're very similar, this and the Ford, in terms of the layout. You've got the same kind of screen here. You've also got all of your climate controls down here as well. So they're very, very similar. One thing, however, as you did mention in the Ford, the bucket seats are great in that. In this, they're not quite as supportive and not quite as good.
They don't look nice either. They've got, they look like a 80s pinstripe suit.
I don't mind them, but they're better in the Ford.
They just need a bit more jazzy to them to match the outside.
I'd agree. Something that is better though, that I think, is the steering wheel, especially that you've got your N button here on the right, which is a really cool flag, and then your driving mode button here on the bottom left. And I mean, it's got to win on the fact that it says rev. There's a button that says rev for your rev matching, which is great. In terms of how else it is, it's all right, but they're very, very similar. This has got a really nice gear knob, which reminds me of the old Volkswagen Golfs.
Yeah, I can see you going with that.
It looks nice in there. And everything just kind of feels like it's in the right place, really. I know it's really not part of design, but you don't feel quite as low as you do in the seats in there, and I like feeling a little bit lower.
Yeah,
but would you
on top of the car rather than in it.
Absolutely. Would you kind of agree that both cars are quite similar? You know, the seats are better than that, steering wheel's better than that. I think the entertainment system's pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, it's kind of fair to me. They've both got CarPlay, so who cares what the rest of it's like.
Okay, we do, however, need a winner for design. So with that being said, for me, and I hope you'll agree, because the i30n looks better on the outside and both cars are kind of matched on the interior, would you say the i30 is the winner?
As much as it pains me, yeah, for me, it's the i30n Performance all the way.
There you go then. i30n Performance wins on design.
Right, let's talk about practicality, Christian, and talk about boots. Not these boots, those boots.
How big is that boot?
That boot is 375 litres. What is that boot?
The i30n Performance is 300, well, there's an issue.
Come on, now let's be honest here.
There's an issue. The i30n is 395, so 20 more litres than that. But because the Performance has that epic, I'll call it epic, strut brace.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's actually 381. Still more than the Ford, but the issue with the Hyundai is that when you put the seats flat, you have got that big bar in the middle.
Yes, so it's only 6 litres more, which isn't a great deal. And as we always like to say, it's not about how big it is, it's how you use it, isn't it, Christian?
And you would use that slightly better because it's
flat load floor virtually as well, and that you've got like a good foot before you get down to the bottom of your
thing you've got more space, I suppose, in this area, but if you did want to use any more of the boot, of course you do have the strut brace to deal with. Other than that, the Hyundai does have a bigger boot.
Slightly.
Shall we have a look on the inside?
Yes.
Right, i30n Performance Practicality in the rear seats.
Hello, Mr. Williams.
Hello, Timothy.
Right.
So this is your normal driving position?
Yeah, this is me.
But then how tall are you?
I am 6 feet and 3 inches.
Okay, put it to what a normal size human would be.
Not a giant like me.
Yeah.
Comments.
Is that better?
Something like that. Not for me, it isn't. No.
Okay, it's much better for me. I mean, that's ample. To be fair, even when you were in your normal driving position, it was okay. I was just touching the back of the seats. I'm 5'10" on a good day. So I would say it's passable.
So it's going back, I was losing feeling in my kneecaps.
Sorry. I have a funny feeling though, in the Ford it might be a bit better. So shall we jump in and see what that's like?
Definitely.
Right, let's have a look in the back of the Focus. Oh, wow, straight away. There's a lot more room.
Yeah, you can tell, can't you?
Yeah. So is this in a normal size person's driving position or your driving position?
This is my driving position, so really? I can move you forward as well to somebody of your height, probably.
Okay, yeah, so that's quite a big difference between the two. I guess we have to say, as this is a Practicality, these do come in slightly different flavours, so you can get the Focus in an Estate.
Yeah, and you can get the Hyundai in the Fastback as well. But the Estate definitely much bigger in every way. The reason this has got more legroom in the back is it's about a 50mm longer wheelbase. That's why it's where it all comes in, like yay much. And that's
about that much, so there you go. Well, we're going to have to come up with a winner, I suppose, for Practicality. Yeah. And even though the boot is bigger on that, I think I'm probably going to agree with your view, which is this is more practical.
Yeah, you've got a much more usable boot at the back and much more rear legroom, so it's a winner.
It's a winner for the Focus. And now we need to talk about performance.
Ooh. Okay, so this Focus ST has got a 2.3 litre 4-cylinder turbo engine, which produces 276 brake horsepower and 420 Newton meters of torque, which I believe is more than the i30n.
Yes, it's more, but not by a huge amount. I mean, the i30n Performance has a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine producing 271 horsepower and 353 newton meters of torque. So about 5 horsepower shy of that of the Focus. But that Focus does make a fair bit more torque. 0 to 62 in the i30n Performance, you're looking at 6.1 seconds. The Ford, however,
beats that also with 5.8 seconds for the 0 to 62. The Focus does weigh a smidge more, but you know, it makes little to no difference.
Annoyingly, Tim is right. The facts speak for themselves for the Focus. So it's a win on performance for the Ford Focus ST.
Smug face.
But now the all-important fun factor.
Yep, that is what these hot hatches are all about.
And first of all, I think we're going to jump in the i30n Performance, Tim. So you jump around there. I will take you for a little drive and show you what this hot hatch is all about. So here we are. Welcome to the i30n Performance, Tim.
Yes.
This is usually the bit where you say, oh, it's a manual. Can you remember how to drive a manual?
Can you remember how to drive manual?
Yes, I can.
Good.
So keyless go. And as we've already spoken about, the interior is lovely. And we'll go straight into pushing this, which is the flag button to put it into N mode. So we put it into N mode. There's two different types of N mode. There's this, which is kind of all singing, all dancing, and then you can push it again to go into custom. And that's where you can click the settings button and go through all of these different settings. So what you want the engine to be like, if you want the rev matching on, if you want the ELSD, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit later. It's a really cool trick LSD system in the i30n Performance. And what exhaust sound you like. We just leave it in N mode, so it's in just crazy bonkers mode.
Open road ahead of us. Oh, bit of wheel spin.
Wheel spin in second.
And this is, it's quick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quick. So I know we got straight in the car and obviously hit the flag to put it into N mode, but there are a few other driving modes in the i30n. So on the left, you have your other very nice light blue button, which if you click the driving modes, you have 3 different modes. So you have normal, you have sport, and you have eco. As you can imagine, eco just tames everything back. Everything feels very relaxed and nice. What's nice about eco is you still get a bit of the power. So for instance, when I was saying earlier about on the motorway and you just stick your foot down in 6th, in eco, it's exactly the same and it doesn't really feel like you've lost too much power. So you don't need to start cycling through to sport if you really want to overtake something. You can just put your foot down and the power is still there. In sport though, very much everything is more tight and it feels fantastic. And then N mode is just another level on top of that. If you have the car in any mode other than eco, you can push this little button on the steering wheel called rev. And I'm sorry, but any car that has a button on the steering wheel called rev has my vote. And what we do is if we put it into sport now, for instance, hit the rev button, rev matching is now on.
Oh, that I like.
To your heart's content, you can really customize this car, which is part of the joy, I think, of driving this, which, and as you can see, like you just chuck it in and it's so good. It's just wheel spin into second as well.
From the passenger seat, you can feel it's got a real sort of playfulness to it, which I like. But you know that a lot of people have said, what's going on? How have Hyundai come to the market and they've got straight away their first proper hot hatch is up there with the best of them.
Yeah,
straight
it really
away.
is.
It's because they stole the guy from BMW. The guy that used to do the BMW M cars is now in charge of Hyundai N. So that's why it's good.
And it is very good,
Yeah.
very good. Tim, would you like to drive the i30n Performance?
Yes, please, thank you, Mr. Williams. Yeah, that's the thing. I always bang my head when I get into these.
Yeah, but you're an abnormal human.
Very true. Yeah, but I do every time I come in. It's quite a sloping A-pillar on this, and it gets me every time. I go bump every time.
Well, I think for anyone that's sort of a normal height, you won't have an issue with that. I've never banged my head whilst getting in the i30n.
No, but that's down to also the seat being quite high as well. It means that this aperture is slightly less, and I do bang because of that. And you don't like the seat height, do you?
So there is one issue that I have with this car, and that is the seating position. It's a great position, don't get me wrong. I would like it a little bit lower. That's it. That's the only quibble I have with this car, really.
Pop, 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 pop.
Doesn't it sound amazing as well? We haven't really touched on the sound yet, but it sounds absolutely fantastic. Every time you change gear.
It is, you get the whip,
every time you change
crack.
up or down, you get this fantastic sound.
I mean, the sound is good from the exhaust. You get that lovely pop and crackle, but it's still quite quiet inside. It's not
intruding, is it?
Not that noisy.
So I said we might mention the diff, which we haven't really yet actually, but you're 100% right. Every time you come out of a corner, you can feel the E-diff, and it is an E-diff, it's an electronic diff in the i30n Performance. You can just feel it working, and it is really trying to help you get that power to the road. Now, unfortunately, it's a slightly slippy day today where we are, and it was raining overnight, so the ground is a little bit unforgiving when it comes to finding the grip, but this car does do a very, very good job at trying to find every single possible little bit of grip it can. I can see you're having a lot of fun in this car.
Well, you know me, I am a hot hatch boy through and through. I just love them. There is something about driving a hot hatch on a British twisty B road that just works perfectly. This is exactly what these cars are designed for, and that you don't get this in any other car. I would much rather be driving this or the Focus than I would be driving a supercar on these roads, because you can use them, you can use all the performance, you can wring the neck of this thing, and you never need to worry. It's perfect for me.
With that in mind, shall we jump in the Focus?
Yes, let's do it.
And via the magic of editing, we are now in the Focus ST. Tim, is this car going to beat the i30n Performance?
I don't know. For me, this is brilliant. Already, straight away, we're sitting in this thing, and it feels sportier. I am lower, and better seats.
But how does it make you feel?
It's noisier.
Well, yeah, that's a funny thing though,
Isn't
because
it?
most of the noise for me is coming from up here, which would say it's induction noise.
Yeah, I think it's got a better induction noise. There's still got the whips and pops and cracks at the back as well.
It does. I think there's a bit more induction. I think that's what makes this car sound a bit louder in the cabin.
Yeah, what I question is whether is this real or is it piped in?
Oh,
Because that happens a lot. But
so in the comments, please, if you know if the Focus does or doesn't have sound through its speakers to make it sound a bit better, let us know, because it might have that a little bit.
it might do.
It might do. I mean, it feels quick.
To me, it feels quicker than the Hyundai, only because you're sitting lower.
Really? From a passenger point of view, I can't feel that this car is any faster than the i30n. If anything, it feels kind of slightly slower, even though it's got more torque.
Now, this is where the torque should come in, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Foot flat.
torque, yeah, it's the same.
It's the same.
But that's just a turbo 4-cylinder engine all over. You can get rev matching on this, but it has to have the performance pack.
Oh, here we go. Options chat.
Well, it is, and I don't understand why any Focus ST would not be spec'd with the performance pack.
This one doesn't have it.
No, it doesn't have it. It gives you rev match, launch control, lap timing, some other bits and bobs, and it's 250 quid.
Right.
I mean, if you enjoy driving your car properly, you need to get the performance pack, surely.
You don't get the pops and the bangs on the overrun like you do on the i30n though. You get it when you change gear, but you change down there and you don't get any extra sound. With the i30n Performance, you get a bit more drama with the noise of the exhaust.
I mean, you still get it when you accelerate. You should get it when you accelerate.
All of a sudden, the sound has disappeared from the ST.
So just to cover what you did in the Hyundai, there are drive modes, and you can select them from the steering wheel here. There's slippery, normal, and sport.
Okay.
So there's not really an eco type thing. What I get with this over the Hyundai, just from driving the two, for me, and it's that typical thing that hot Fords have always had. The handling and the ride is just exceptional. In the Hyundai, you had to put it into N mode, and then you had to soften it with the N custom and blah, blah, blah. There's none of that in this. It is just the typical amazing Ford ride and handling, and it's what you get in the Fiesta, it's what you got in the old Focus ST, the old Focus RS. No matter what they do, they are masters of a perfect balance of damping and ride and all that. And yes, it's not the most powerful car in the world, but when you put your foot down, there's no fancy diff in this either, and it just feels nice to drive. It's a really fun thing to get on with.
Well, with that being said, I think it's time that I jumped in the driver's seat.
Yeah, right.
It's got bags of performance.
Yeah. I see now.
Yeah, it got a little bit of a...
Why did it give you the pops and bangs and not me? Because they've both got their own little traits. For me, the Hyundai feels a little bit livelier, maybe, and a little bit more darty. But whereas the Focus feels a bit more grown up, it's also got that it's got that better ride. You can feel it putting the power down a bit better. Like you haven't had the
I haven't actually.
That judder that you get in the Hyundai.
Which is weird because this has more torque. I would have expected this to have lost traction, but it doesn't lose traction as much as the i30n.
No, I think it's down to the front suspension on this.
Right.
It's a slightly better design.
I'd be happy in either of them.
Yeah.
We're going to have a draw. It's the first time in the rival series that we have a draw on something. That means then, with the fun factor being a draw for both cars, the ST is ever so slightly ahead, only by, what, a point?
By 1 point.
By 1 point, and we only have cost to go. Well, we should probably talk about cost then.
Yep.
So it's near enough neck and neck, although the ST is just ever so slightly ahead. But now we come down to the final hoorah. Cost.
Yeah, we've got our crib sheets.
We do. There's a lot of numbers that we need to go through, and this is obviously very, very important because at the end of the day, this is how much money you're going to have to spend to get one of these fantastic little cars. And they are both fantastic, we must stress that. First of all, I guess we should really just talk about how much they cost. So
yeah.
What is the base price of the ST?
This is 32.5 grand.
Okay, so you're going to save yourself £3,000 if you buy the i30n Performance. This is this is £29,495.
Yeah,
so £3,000 less.
That's not an inconsiderable amount. But now I have to talk about, most people tend to finance their cars these days, and if you do a standard finance quote on both of these cars, that is £5,000 down as a deposit, 12,000 miles a year over 3 years. They're identical.
So you pay pretty much the same price?
Well, it's £356 a month for this and £360 a month for that.
Okay, so this is literally just a few pounds more per month.
Yeah.
And it's actually weirdly the cheaper car.
Exactly, it's all down to, I guess, how much money it loses. But it's not, because it's actually the same at the end. You've that £3 grand difference.
I mean, we can argue until the cows come home about this, but the thing you've got to remember is this is the cheaper car. So at the end of the payments, if you did want to then go ahead and buy the car, it would cost you less to buy the Hyundai than it would the Ford.
Exactly.
But you are right in saying that if you just wanted to hand the car back at the end of the finance deal, it's the same. So you'd be paying the same per month.
And it's even the same, the tax is exactly the same.
Tax is the same, yeah. What is the biggest difference between these two cars when it comes to price is options. Now, we haven't really spoken about options yet on these two. And options is a big thing, because sometimes it's make or break if you find the right car used. You know, if it's got the right options, brilliant. If it doesn't, you might have to move on. The Hyundai i30n Performance has basically every option that you could ever think of that you'd want on the car as standard. So it comes as standard. Wireless charging, heated seats, heated steering wheel, parking sensors, reverse camera. It is all as standard. Pretty much everything on the Ford you have to spec as an optional extra, don't you?
Well, I mean, as a standard car, it is very well spec'd. It's just nowhere near. I mean, that is crazy how much spec that Hyundai has got. I mean, you have to spec the wireless charger, you have to spec like a head-up display. This hasn't got heated seats, hasn't got a heated steering wheel, things like that. So yeah, it's far better on that. But one thing, actually, you're talking about how much these things cost and how much they cost to run. It's very important. The tax may be the same. This is a big thing. If you're driving this thing for 12,000 miles a year, that does 40 mpg, this does 35 mpg.
Yeah.
That is a big difference if you're talking 12,000 miles.
Well, it will, and it'll add up over those 3 years that you might own the car. Obviously, that has a slightly bigger engine, so it is going to, just use a little bit more juice.
Yeah.
So, I guess then, costings, even though it's technically the same on finance, I would like to come to an understanding that there is a winner for the cost. And I'd like to say it's a Hyundai. It's a cheaper car and you get a lot more for your money.
Yeah, I think it's cheaper to buy if you were to do cash, but it's cheaper overall and it will cost you less to run. So definitely for me, Hyundai is the winner on cost, which annoyingly
has put us in a slight predicament that it's a draw. We've done 5. We picked 5 because we thought, well, there'll be a winner at the end of it. But because they're both so fun to drive, we couldn't come up with a winner on that.
No.
So they are neck and neck. And to be honest, I'd be more than happy with either of the cars. Personally, I think I'd probably pick the Hyundai. I think the i30n Performance for me is the car I'd go for out of the two. And I think you might have the Ford.
I would go for the Ford. So there is an absolute straight out draw. But whichever one you choose, you're going to be getting an absolutely brilliant hot hatch.
And of course, if you enter at botb.com, you could win one of these for literally pennies. It is on the website botb.com. Please check out the link in the description below. We'll tag it as a comment and you can have a look at that, because BOTB give away a dream car every single week. You only have to be 16 or over to enter, and it's a worldwide competition. And both of these cars are in the competition, so you never know. Next week, you could be winning a great little hot hatch for just a few quid.
Exactly.
Guys, thank you so much for watching another Rivals video here on the ITH channel. We'll of course be back with more content real soon, but for now, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, I'm your Uber for the day. Sorry, I can't do that.
Can't do that.
No. Right, let's talk about practicality, baby.
Let's talk about you and me. Yeah, I thought, sorry, no, we'll do that again. You can do that if you want.
Let's not do that one.
It is a bit cold this morning, yeah. Did we say this morning though?
No.